and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when. You're moving out. I said, when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with the wirepoints.org folks. This week it's Mark Glennon. And before we get to Mark, from Wirepoints, just a little macro update on how Illinois is doing, because you are constantly barraged by the agitprop from the Chicago and Springfield press corps. They're the only two counties that matter, Cook and Sangamon, in case you didn't know. And to hear Jelly Belly tell the story, things are going swimmingly. If you actually look at the numbers, though, since Pritzker took office, Illinois has the 10th worst GDP growth rate in the country. Illinois has one of the worst unemployment rates in the country. It's the 5th highest. The real annualized growth rate in the first quarter of 2023, coming out of the pandemic and getting back to work, only 4 states grew more slowly in the first quarter of this year: Rhode Island, Alabama, Arkansas, and West Virginia. Illinois grew at 0.25%. Iowa, by contrast, grew at 5.25%.
Wow.
I mean,
go Hawkeyes.
I mean, it's just really something. But everything's going great. Don't change course. No, because, I mean, for example, well, wait, one more macro stat, and then we'll get to the good news, because we don't want to spend too much time on, the truth. This was interesting. This is from Steve Moore's Unleash Prosperity newsletter, graphing the states with the biggest increase and decrease in the 0 to 4 age population between April of 20 and July of 2022. So why is the age 0 to 4 population so important? Well, because what does that tell us? Where young families are choosing to live and raise a family, right? If you have kids 0 to 4. Well, there are 3 states that saw their 0 to 4 population decline by more than 7% over that 2-year period. Can you name them? I bet you can. New York, California,
Illinois.
and Illinois. There were a couple states that were close to the 7%, -7%, like New Mexico, but 3 states, worst in the country: Illinois, California, New York. That gets a bit redundant, doesn't it? By contrast, the states that saw the greatest increase in 0 to 4 population, where families are moving, young families are moving and saying, this is where we want to raise our kids: the Carolinas, Tennessee, Idaho, actually. Interesting. All right, but just ignore all that, because that's just fear porn about Illinois. Everything's going well, and I don't want to hear anything else.
Yeah, we're not losing population, but we lost a congressional seat. Okay.
Again,
Worm your way out of that one, Governor Pritzker.
put all that negativity away and allow the release from State Treasurer Michael Frerichs' office to wash over you, to cleanse you of any notion that things could be going better. Resume your posture as Dr. Pangloss. It's the best of all possible worlds in the land of Lincoln. We just set another record, says State Treasurer Michael Frerichs. $2 billion in investment earnings. As a state treasurer, he writes, I serve as the state's chief investment office and banking officer. What background do you have in investing in banking? Not sure. When money comes into the state, be it at $15 for a state fishing license or $15 million to settle a legal dispute, it's deposited with our office. We then invest the money with a focus on the preservation of capital and liquidity. Some of our investments are as short as overnight. Others are as long as 10 years. The record-setting $2 billion validates our approach to be prudent, to be thoughtful, and to always respect the taxpayer. Prudence, thoughtfulness, and respect for taxpayer, we all know those are the hallmarks of Illinois state government. Well, I'm glad. He's seeing that ROI. You know why? Because half of the $3 billion the Department of Employment and Security paid out during COVID was fraudulent. So we got some ground to make up. Way to come to the rescue, Treasurer Frericks, or did he? Mark Glennon joins us now, wirepoints.org. Mark, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Mark, are you there?
Do we have Mark? Mark.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Oh, there we go.
Hello.
All right, Mark. So you saw what Treasurer Frericks said about his wonderful ROI on the sage investments that he makes with our money. What do you have to say in reply other than, of course, thank you?
Geez, where do you start, Dan? This is a topic that we've long written about, and it's serious now because interest rates are up, and we're talking about real money in terms of earnings that we should be getting on that portfolio that he has. Right now, he has $32 billion under his management that comes from those various fees and different funds that you mentioned. And, of course, he's bragging about how much money he's earned on it. But it's only invested for a duration of about a year. I mean, typical investment is like a 1-year maturity. The weighted effective maturity is just over a year. And what's the yield that he's getting? 4.5%. Well, I'm looking at the U.S. 1-year Treasury rate. It's 5.3%. So you got to ask, what's so great about that? Why not put it in the 1-year Treasury? Should be doing a whole lot better. This whole subject of why the Treasurer sits on this amount of money, and it's permanent. I mean, it fluctuates a little bit, but it's not seasonal, and it comes from, we have hundreds of different funds that are set up within the state government. As you say, it comes from a hunting licensing fee, and it's dedicated to this or that. There's no reason to have all these funds. In aggregate, it's a permanent amount of money, and we ought to look at how and why it's being held. I'm certainly not suggesting that we go out and blow it, but how it should be invested and what the sense is of this setup that we have with the Treasurer.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, he also notes that, and this is something that you heard Pritzker say during the campaign last year, too. Look at our credit rating. Our credit rating is improving, and he writes, does Frericks, that Fitch, a national credit ratings agency, reaffirmed the Illinois Funds' top AAA rating. You know, again, they're just managing the money so responsibly and effectively. They're getting these returns, which, as you pointed out, just putting it all in T-bills, and getting hailed by the rating agencies for their judiciousness.
Yeah, rating agencies are important only to bondholders and mean nothing in terms of taxpayers or the quality of services that you're getting. The rating agencies love bailouts and tax increases, which is what Illinois has gotten, of course, over the past quite a few years. You know, one key number I would add to the nice summary you just gave about our situation. Illinois has had no net new jobs in 20 years. I mean, think about that, stagnant net job growth in 20 years. Why don't we recognize these problems and deal with them honestly? Instead, it's denial, denial, denial. Everything's going great. I just don't get it.
And Governor Pritzker, and to say, we haven't lost residents. He's pushing the U.S. Census Bureau to give, correct updates and count the numbers correctly because they said people weren't counted in nursing homes, jails, homeless shelters.
Graves.
Graves.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think he's going to be successful in this?
No, the census is the census, and that's the actual count. What he's referring to is a survey that was done after the fact that identified potential problems in the actual census. But for the most part, well, look at the IRS numbers. I mean, it's hard to cheat on that. We see how many tax returns there are. They publish these migration numbers every year. You can see the taxpayers leaving, billions and billions of dollars of lost aggregate income that's gone out of state because of people moving. Those are down consistently year after year.
It seems to me there's an easy fix to these financial problems you outline. It's the old economist fix, right? You come to a ravine and you need to get to the other side. You just assume a bridge. We need to change our assumptions, and if we do that, we can wipe away all sorts of debt, as you wrote about recently. $25 billion in unfunded healthcare liabilities just wiped away if you just change the assumptions. Why don't we just change more of the assumptions?
Boy, is that suspicious, Dan. We're talking here about the obligation, the debt that the state has to pay for health care for state retirees, for pensioners. Most people don't realize this, but some of that health care is covered by the state. It's contractually obligated by the state. It's constitutionally guaranteed by the state. And it is the second largest debt category that Illinois has behind pensions. There's more of this than there is bonded debt in Illinois. Well, the actuaries came out a couple of weeks ago and revised the numbers. Said, well, the numbers are kind of different now, so we're cutting this obligation in half from roughly $50 billion down to $25 billion. Why? Because they go through three different things. Gets a little technical, but boy, is it suspicious. Well, primarily, they claim that the experience level in claims has improved, so we're not going to have to pay out as much. Now, understand, this is entirely a cash-based system. There's no money set aside like there is for pensions. This is just an outright cash obligation, pay-as-you-go basis. And, the experience level maybe went down because of the pandemic, where everybody knows that people weren't going to the doctor as often. Yeah. So this whole thing is very suspicious. And to go from 1 year to the next with a roughly 40% cut in the amount of debt owed ought to get some scrutiny.
Hey,
and so far, it hasn't been mentioned at all.
Can you tell us why our governor is in the United Kingdom? Because I'm scratching my head. I get the media alerts that he's, promoting Illinois on the world stage. Well, what does that even mean?
These trade missions in ordinary times would be productive. There's a chance to do some deal making if you're really up to that. But seriously, is anybody really going to give a serious listen in Great Britain to choosing Illinois as a place to invest? Warren Buffett said it all a few years ago, when he said he's avoiding places like Illinois that have all this aggregated debt, especially his pension debt. He said, they're coming for your money. Eventually, they got to come in terms of taxes to try to cover this debt, and he wanted to stay away from those states. Big investors understand that, so I think it's a waste of time.
And speaking of which, having a hard time retaining the businesses that are here, some of the big ones, another relatively good-sized one, a railcar company named TTX, is leaving Chicago for North Carolina. And I know, of course, that's no big deal. Businesses come and go. We all understand that from Pritzker and Lightfoot. So it's no big deal when Citadel leaves. It's no big deal when Tyson does, or Caterpillar, or Boeing, or certainly TTX, right?
Yeah, it's a continuation of the same story. I mean, that was their headquarters. It's an important loss, and it just went after it. Even in the segments that Pritzker has targeted for success and thrown a lot of money at, namely EVs and battery production for automobiles, he's batting zero on that. These huge plants go out of the states. Indiana's a particular winner, just won another multi-billion-dollar plant operation to build batteries. They're not considering Illinois. This is a complete failure. His reimagined electric vehicles plan. It's
well, and TTX in particular too. I mean, obviously, given Chicago's location in the center of the country, it makes sense to be a logistical hub, and yet you have a major rail car company that's moving to North Carolina. I mean, it just speaks again to the climate here, and also, I mean, I of course being facetious when I say it doesn't matter if these companies leave. It's a it hugely matters, and a lot of these companies just say, "Oh, well, it's just executives." Well, it's just executives. It's just a few hundred executives here and a few hundred executives there. I mean, how many millionaires have been created out of Citadel, and they send their kids to the schools, and they go to the restaurants, and they donate to C3s, and you start to lose billions of dollars in GDP and purchasing power on an annualized basis that compounds. It changes the landscape and the direction of your community, doesn't it?
Dan, what's most frustrating about this is the feedback you get on progressives on this. We hear this sometimes. All that stuff doesn't matter to the people, we're told. That's what, you wealthy folks and
right.
Wall Street investors worry about and stuff. And they really don't understand that, don't care about it. It's good riddance in terms of Citadel leaving and all their millionaires. They just don't understand who the golden geese are that they're shooing off or shooting in the head.
Yeah,
and,
we can just we'll replace Ken Griffin and those Citadel folks and those Boeing folks with video gambling machines, with the casino. We'll continue to fleece the people that are least able to afford it, and that's how we'll prop this whole thing up. That sounds like a plan.
Yep, and pot sales. Yep. There is no revenue source that is growing here at nearly the pace that we would need to begin to honor our obligations. And that's the fundamental problem. Nothing is being done to change the underlying dynamics of all the things that put Illinois in the position that it's in.
He is Mark Glennon, Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You're listening to Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I'm older and I have more energy, just like all the commercials that I see on TV. So it really is a help to my well-being.
I'm 80 years old. I clean up after 450 kids in the cafeteria for 3 hours, and then I clean 300 steps, and then I vacuum carpets and clean halls in 5 hours because for an 80-year-old, that's a lot to do. And I still have energy after work. I consider it a great success.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. For a limited time this summer, get $25 off your first order as a preferred customer, plus a free fruits and veggies travel set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
America First with Sebastian Gorka today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Don't defund the police. Hire the police to protect your business. Rising crime has been crippling business owners in Illinois more and more in the past year. Blue Star Security can protect your most valuable asset, your business, to protect both you and your customers. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 500 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Anthony Barchetto, president of Blue Star Security and a 20-year law enforcement veteran. Our team is exclusively state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals who provide the highest standards in security. We serve Fortune 500 companies as well as small businesses and individuals, responding rapidly and seamlessly to each assignment. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityltd.com. That's BlueStarSecurityLTD.com.
Sean Thompson here for my friend Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group. There aren't many people who would knowingly leave their job to start another job for a 30% cut in pay. And yet, people do it every day when they enter retirement. Why enter the exciting new chapter of your life with less money? Why trade the stress of work for more stress in retirement? Tom Fortino of Alpha Wealth Group can help. Just call Tom at 630-934-1800.